Welcome to the No Place Podcast. I'm your host, Slippy Billy, here with a very special guest, and I mean special. The type of guest that should have longtime fans of this channel foaming at the mouth with anticipation. Let me lay the scene so you can really appreciate this unbelievable moment. About a decade ago is when I first talked about Axe, alternative manga, my favorite single volume English translated manga release on my YouTube channel. Fast forward to now, I've moved to Japan, kinda stopped reading manga for a while, and then suddenly remembered it. Axe. I had always wanted a second volume, but now I can read Japanese. I can read Axe. So I searched. I found Garo, the alternative manga magazine from the 60s. I got a bunch of that. I found Axe. Turns out there are hundreds of volumes of Axe. It's still going strong to this day. I bought every volume I could get my hands on, and it immediately reignited my love for this medium because it features so many unique artists telling original stories. And there's one artist featured in the more recent issues of Axe that immediately stood out to me as my favorite, and that artist is none other than today's special guest. Please welcome Michael Aubtin Madadi.
Incredible, thank you. What a fantastic intro. Thank you very much.
Oh, thanks, man.
You got me excited.
There's a bit of a story there. Oh, man, yeah, it's crazy. I was actually so surprised, first of all, just to see a foreign name appear in the magazine when I was reading it. So I immediately wondered, like, how the hell did this guy make it here? Like, what is he doing here? So maybe we could just get into that first.
Yeah, sure. I'll give you a bit of background. It's kind of similar from, well, your story of how you were introduced to Axe, I guess. I'm from the UK. I'm from London in the UK originally, and I used to read some comics growing up, not a lot. And then when I was at university, I was reading kind of like graphic novels, as they were called at the time, basically comics, the same thing. And then when I was at university, I used to do like Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I was training Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And I read a thing about there's this Japanese comic artist who did a manga, which I wasn't really sure what manga was at the time. He did this comic about these guys and they do Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I was like, I've got it. And then English translation was coming out. I was like, I've got to read this, I've got to get this. So I got it, and it was by, I'm not sure if you know him, Hanakuma Yusaku, who is Yusaku Hanakuma.
Yeah, Tokyo Zombies in Axe, right?
Tokyo Zombie, exactly, yeah. So he was a manga-ka from Axe. So I read this, and I was like, okay, I really loved it. I loved the drawing style, the humor, everything about it. And so that was my first Japanese comic I read. Then I looked into a bit more. I found out it's from this magazine called Axe. And then, like you, I read an English translation of an anthology called, I think it was Axe Anthology Volume 1.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I think that's awesome. We read the same book, but it had an even bigger impact on you than it did on me.
Yeah, so I just really loved some of the stories. I didn't know basically comics could look like this, could deal with some of the issues they dealt with. And it left a massive impression on me. And then it was a few years later, afterwards, I thought, I want to do this myself. I want to draw comics. And I thought, well, okay, if I want to draw comics, there wasn't at the time much opportunities in the UK. So I thought, if I'm going to do this, I want to come to Japan. And if I come to Japan, I want to do it with this same I want to be in this same magazine. And so that's it. I came here for the first year, learned Japanese, and started drawing and took my work to Axe. And I was lucky enough to win their Newcomers Award, the Shinjin Show, for, I think it was 2007, the 19th Newcomers competition. And I got published in Axe, and then that was it. From there, I kept getting my work published.
That's crazy. Hold on. So did you enter that competition? No, you entered that competition while you were still in the UK, right?
No. I was in Japan. Before that, when I was still in the UK, I entered, Kodansha's Morning.
Okay.
Manga magazine.
And you
Morning.
won an award in that, right?
Yeah, they had an international comic competition where it was for foreigners living outside of Japan to get, to get published in Morning or to get your work published on their website. And I applied to that. Where I'd never even heard of Morning, to be honest. I didn't know anything about it, but it was a comic. This was the first comic I wrote because it was I like to work to deadlines. If it's up to me, I would never get anything done, basically. So I found a comic competition. I was like, okay, this is good. It's got a deadline. It's gives me something to work to, and I handed it in. I was lucky enough. I got second place in that. So I got my work translated into Japanese.
Wow. But that's the first time, isn't that the first time maybe that you were sort of interested in Japan? Or like, Japanese comics and that?
Yeah. I didn't, to be honest, when I sent my work to the Morning International Comic Competition, I'd never read, I think it was before I read, I had read Tokyo Zombie, but I hadn't read any Morning mangas. I didn't really know anything about them. I just sent it because it was a competition.
Yeah, I think that's such a amazing story for so many different reasons. Because first of all, okay, man, first of all, I think you're coming at it from such a different direction compared to 99% of fans in general who get into Japanese media. I think a lot of people like me grew up with Dragon Ball, Pokemon, and then they saw Naruto on TV, and then they got into manga from there, started reading the big Shonen Jump stories that kind of all feel the same. And then maybe from there you branch out and you get really nerdy into the manga like I did, and you start reading Tezuka Osamu and Lone Wolf and Cub and this old Gekiga stuff, and then eventually you get to X, right? But you kind of skip that whole process. The first manga you read was this alternative thing. You never got into the kiddie, shonen stuff. And do you think that had kind of an influence on your work, or at least your process for coming to Japan and the kind of manga that you wanted to create?
Yeah, I mean, I've got nothing against those kind of comics. It's just like you said, they never, where I grew up, they were just not part of my world. I wouldn't know where to look for those kind of things. I wouldn't, So when I was at I studied illustration at university. So
okay.
We were looking at, I was more influenced when I was growing up. I wanted to be a painter. I liked art, I wanted to be a fine art painter. So I was looking at more maybe those kind of artwork to begin with. And like I said, it was just a bit of luck. Like I said, I didn't go out my way to say, okay, I want to read something Japanese.
Yeah.
I wanted to read something about guys who were doing Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And because at the time Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu wasn't even that well known in the UK, and this was back in the late 90s, where it was massive in Japan.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's just how I kind of fell in love with it. And I'm sure you read the Axe anthology. There's so much the kind of different kinds of visually different kinds of work, the themes they deal with. So that just had a massive impact on me. I was like, you can get published in this kind of stuff,
yeah, right. Yeah.
I did it.
Huh. Okay. Yeah, that's interesting. Because I'm an artist too, but
yeah,
I've never really tried to kind of push my art out there. I sort of am pretty casual about it. So I think that's really cool that you read that and that inspires you not only to draw, maybe to draw differently or to write certain types of stories, but to really push your work out there and think, yeah, I can do this. I can get into these types of magazine.
Yeah, I don't know why. Now, with hindsight, after coming to, I've been here 8 years. And so after coming here, I don't know, I just thought I could do it. This is going to be really, I don't know, so arrogantly thought, I'll just turn up. Yeah, I'll just learn the language and I'm going to become a manga-ka. And obviously I got here And the first couple of years, I can't lie, they weren't the best years. They weren't so fun because I realized I don't know the language.
Yeah.
I don't know anything about the industry. You can't just turn up and make it here, you know. So I had to humble myself, learn the language properly, and learn more about the industry. And to be honest, I was living here about a year and a half. I thought, okay, I can speak Japanese now. I'm going to go and take my work to Axe. So the first people I took it to was Axe, and I called them up. It's embarrassing now because I remember with hindsight, one of the editors, who obviously I know well now, he was saying, I was saying, yeah, I want to come and show my work. Can I show my work? And he was saying, okay, if you want to show your work, we only do it in the afternoons here. So which day in the afternoon? And I kept giving him times in the morning. I was like, yeah, 10 o'clock. And he's like, okay, very polite. Yeah, sorry, we only take appointments in the afternoon. I was like, okay, Tuesday, 10 o'clock. And in the end, they just let me come in the morning because I think they're sorry for me. And they were very polite, but basically, my work wasn't. I mean, I would be the first to admit it probably wasn't good enough, and so they turned me down actually at first when I first went to Axe.
Yeah.
They were very nice about it, and they were, helped me out a lot. But they were like, basically, I politely got turned down, and so that was not the best, moment for me, because I had to really think about, what am I doing? I'd come all the way here, I was spending savings, and I had to think about it. So I actually went back to Kodansha because I had a slight relationship because I'd won the international comic competition before.
Yeah.
So I went back to Kodansha and I worked with an editor there for maybe 6 months or something like that. And he was a great guy, and they gave me loads of advice and helped me out a lot. They helped me with the language as well, like I didn't even know all these names, what is name, what is setter for all these things. I had no idea what they meant, so they helped me, with these simple things. But basically, I just couldn't, the things he wanted me to do, I just couldn't do it. He would constantly say to me, this is not going to sell, Michael-san, this is not going to sell. We're not going to be able to sell this. Motto wakariyasu, please make it more easy to understand,
Oh, wow. Wait, that was from Kodansha, right?
Kodansha, yeah.
Okay.
With the editor, because, obviously I realize now Morning is a massive, it's a massive magazine,
Yeah.
So it's, of course, I mean, I'm sure they might have some more, alternative things. I know they do like Morning too and things like that, but it's not like Axe. It's not the same kind of level. Axe editors have never once said to me, this is not going to, they don't really think like that. It's the whole point of Axe is you can do anything you want.
Yeah.
And they'll help you do anything you want, basically.
And I think that's why Axe stands out so much, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So you were actually published in Kodansha as well, in the Morning magazine?
No, I never got published there because the international comic competition I came second in, I got published online.
Okay, so the editors just helped you for like fun?
No, because you have like a kind of once you if you came first or second or I think third, I'm not sure, in the competition, you got given an editor to work with.
Oh, really?
And they would say,
that's awesome.
If you got anybody, send them over.
That's really cool.
And at the time I was UK, so I didn't really have any ideas, so I didn't take advantage of it much at the time in the UK. But when I came to Japan, and I thought, okay, well, maybe it works. I gave them a call and I spoke to them. And of course, I went into, basically anyone can go to a manga publisher and say, here's my idea, can you have a look at it?
Oh,
and
wow,
they'll take a look at it.
That's really cool.
Which is what I yeah, and so I did that with Morning, and they said, okay, they gave me another editor to, they kind of just work with you on and off. You send them different sketches, and I'll go in and have a chat with him. And then after a while, he sent me a massive email once saying, these are all the things you need to do if you want to make it. And I thought, okay, this is basically, that long goodbye breakup you have with, your girlfriend, not you, it's me kind of thing. He sent me this massive email. And so I was like, okay, this is, he's saying that, this isn't going to work. And so,
oh man.
To be honest, he gave me loads of good advice, and I took that on board. And I made one more. I thought, I'm either going to go back home to London, or I'm going to make one more comic. So I made one more comic, and I kind of, using the advice and the experience I picked up, since being in Japan and working with Kodansha. And I went to see, I didn't go to see, I sent it to the ACT competition, the Shinjin-sho, the newcomers exhibition, competition. And, I was lucky enough, I won that. And so then I got to, work with ACT since then.
That is awesome, man. That is quite the story. So let's just back up a little bit, because I think a lot of people will be interested in hearing about the coming to Japan process, because the way you talk about it is very casual, like, oh, I'm in Japan, I don't know the language, I don't know what I'm doing, I have no job, and I'm just like drawing comics and showing it to an editor, But so how did you make that step? Is it because like I read that your wife is Japanese?
Yeah.
And you kind of happened to meet her in England, right?
Yes.
So is that part of why you moved to Japan? Did that make it easier for you to make that move?
Yeah, for sure. I would say definitely made it easier. It wasn't the reason why I came to Japan, because I specifically wanted to come to Japan rather than her. We met at the same art university. So
she had been living in the UK for a while then?
Yeah, exactly. We'd been, we were married and living together in London. Okay. And she'd been living there for years. And then I came to her and said, look, I really want to do this. Before then, I was working as an animator in the UK. But when I say I was working as an animator, it's not like kind of Japanese anime or kind of, I was making maybe short animations, kind of, I was doing okay. I had my work shown in some galleries, and I did a couple of things for TV and things like that. But I wasn't really, really loving it, the commercial side of the work, the stuff that you get money from. So I said to her, okay, I want to make comics. I want to come up with my own stories. I want to do this. And I said, I want to do it in Japan. And then, she was, really supportive. And so I was lucky in that sense that I could come to Japan because I had a spouse visa, basically. So I got a 1-year visa to come here. I could do any job. I didn't have to, I had savings that I'd built up in the UK. So
so that makes it really difficult for a lot of people, I think. The visa thing.
Yeah, so I think I was really lucky in that sense. I think it would be, I don't know what I would have done otherwise. So that's why it was quite casual, because I had saved some money, and we just rented the place. And I said to her, we'll just be here 1 year. I don't know what I was thinking. I so arrogantly thought, I'll turn up and within 1 year I'll be a famous manga. I don't know what I was thinking. But she kind of humoured me, and we came here, and then I'd enrolled in a language school before I came, so I knew I needed to speak Japanese. So and I didn't speak Japanese until before I came. My wife is fluent in English, so obviously we would always speak in English. So I spent the first year and a bit in a language school here in Tokyo studying, and while I was in the language school, that's when I first went to. Once I felt okay, I can speak enough Japanese. Yeah. I thought, okay, I'm going to go and show my work now and see.
Okay, wow. So that's so wild, though. You have this dream, and you decide, okay, let's learn Japanese just so I can talk to the editor in the office.
Yeah, because I was, the only realistic thing probably that I was thinking was, you have to speak Japanese, and I'm going to have to be working in Japanese, so I can't just turn up in English and say hi.
That's so awesome, man. That's so awesome. I like the biggest difference, I guess, for me is I just wanted to live in Japan because I just like Japan. So what I do in Japan was secondary. So I just flew to Japan and then tried to find whatever job I could do. The easiest job to do is teaching English, right? And so that's what I'm doing. But you had it the other way around, where you knew exactly what you wanted to do, and you were just sort of completing the steps necessary to get there, right?
Yeah, well, if you put it like that, it sounds a lot more smooth than the reality, because I turned up and I didn't know anything, and the first, like I said, the first couple of years didn't go well. and I was like, I've made a massive mistake. What am I doing here? You know, like, why did I think I could just turn up and do this?
So why, at that point,
so, you know,
yes. So at that point, when you were feeling like it was a mistake, maybe, why did you stick around? What prevented you from just going back to England? Because you said you had a pretty decent animator job in England, right? Like, couldn't you have gone back?
Okay. It was, you know, I'd come all the way, and I felt I can't go back with nothing. So I couldn't. I came here with something I wanted to do, and I couldn't just kind of turn around and leave. And of course, I did like it. I mean, life, I wasn't like, it wasn't hell. I like living in Japan. I like Tokyo. It's a nice place to live. So I've got a part-time job working in a gallery. Just, you know, because I'd burned up, well, I'd used up all my savings. So I got a job in a gallery, and I just, like I said, then that's when I contacted Morning and started, you know, working briefly with an editor there. And
sounds like a cool part-time job, too.
I can do. Sorry?
That sounds like a cool part-time job, too.
Yeah, it was good. It was great. I worked there for 5 years, and they really helped me. I worked like in the, basically I did everything in a gallery, you know, doing like poster design for the exhibition. It was a very small gallery, like a little small one in Shinjuku, and yeah, that was a big help to me. That my boss and everyone was really nice, and that was kind of, you know, gave me a bit of freedom and a bit of, you know, security while I could concentrate on drawing comics.
Man, that's really cool. That's really cool. So now, are you a full-time artist?
I don't know. Am I a full-time artist or am I unemployed? How can I say that? I am a full-time. I don't do any other job, but I don't know. Yeah, maybe I should have mentioned this. So I was working with Axe, and then last year I had my first tankobon, my first like full book.
Oh, I've got it right here.
Oh, amazing! Yes, thank you. Yeah, it was a collection of most of the stories that were published in Axe, you know, put together. I'm sure your listeners know all about how, you know, manga books work in Japan. So that was my first one that came out last year. And so since then, I've just been like, you know, making up all these new comics and
oh, whoa! I just got a sneak preview.
Working on a new idea. So, but I mean, I'm still, of course, I'm working with this, but until you get something, I'm not. No one's paying me until my next thing comes up. So
I guess I meant like, are you still doing like other jobs like at a gallery and things like that?
No, not at the moment.
Okay.
No.
So that's really
but
cool.
I wouldn't be against it, you know. Like I enjoyed working there, and if I could find another thing I liked, I wouldn't have a problem, you know, doing a bit of, you know. It depends how busy you get. With Axe, compared to other mangas, it's coming out bi-monthly, so you're not like crazy busy.
Yeah. No,
so when I was doing Axe, I did some animation work, you know. I did a couple of music videos and things like that as well. So.
Oh yeah, I've seen a couple of your animations on your website. You can definitely put your website in the description of the video. I'll check it out.
Yeah. I mean, I think all of the stuff on my website is stuff I did back in the UK. Yeah.
Oh really?
But I did a thing since I came to Japan as well, but I'm not sure if I put them on there.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so that's basically the dream. You're living the dream. There are so many people, I think, all around the world who grew up reading manga, who started drawing manga, got inspired by manga, and they want to be part of one of these Japanese magazines. But what I think is interesting is I think, and I don't want to sound mean, but most of those people, because they're inspired by something like Naruto, right? And also because I think they just kind of simply don't have the work ethic that most of these Japanese artists do. When they try to emulate that style, it doesn't quite get there. When people try to emulate that Shonen Jump style, right? I've never seen a foreigner who can do it. Because these Japanese artists are busting their ass, man. Like, really trying to perfect this style, really trying to make it fit the mold. And so I think it doesn't really work. So I think what you did, and coming at it from with more original style, and targeting a different magazine that isn't as huge, so your work isn't kind of fit into this box. You don't have to try to make it fit that box. I think that's kind of one of the keys to success. Would you say so?
I don't know. I don't know enough about. I think probably you. I'm sure you and your listeners know way more about the manga industry than I do. To be perfectly honest with you. I think there are. I mean, I don't know.
That's really funny.
How many. I think there's. I've heard of a few. I think foreign manga-ka are really successful working for like massive publishers. And
oh, really? Huh.
I think. Yeah. I mean, I think I've heard of a few names. I've not personally read any work, but I know there's like a few people. Isn't there some Italian guy doing something?
Oh, really? Right now? Oh, wow.
Yeah, I think so.
I've heard of Felipe Smith. Felipe Smith did Pipo Chu, and I know that was published.
American.
Yeah.
Worked with Kodansha.
I think it was Kodansha. Not quite sure, but that was a really great manga. Yeah. Huh.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. So I've heard there are some people who have done it really, really successfully. I think I don't know. My personal opinion is kind of like what you were saying. I mean, manga's a massive industry, and there are thousands and so many people, Japanese people, who want to draw manga, and if you're not bringing, my personal opinion, if you're not bringing something different to the table, there is just going to be so many Japanese people who can draw way better than you, who understand the language, understand the culture. So it would be really hard to get your head, above all of these people. So I would say probably the non-Japanese people who are successful in Japan are really bringing maybe something unique that other Japanese mangaka don't have. Otherwise, otherwise why work with them? There's so many other mangas. It's so competitive here. There's so many people, even some, a small manga magazine, an alternative one like Axe, there are foreigners every year, sending their work in for the newcomer, competition.
Oh, yeah. I should do that, huh?
Yeah, you should.
I've never thought about that, but I could actually do that. Maybe I should do that, huh?
Yeah, especially something like Axis, like it's totally free. There's no limit to the pages,
oh yeah,
the stories, the language, anything. So yeah, that was one of the things that attracted me to it in the first place.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, congratulations on the Tankoban, by the way. I had already read all the stories, I think, but it's nice to have it all in one collection anyway.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like, I think there's one tiny little extra thing, and there are a few little changes that, sometimes, with deadlines, you just got to get it done, you hand it in, and I always looked at it and I was like, I want to change this one. I don't like this. I don't want to like this little bit. So that was my opportunity to, make it exactly as I wanted.
Okay, that's nice. Yeah, I actually have a little notepad, and whenever I read something in X and I really like it, I have to write it down and write the volume and write the page number so I can find it again.
Yeah.
So this makes it a lot easier to find.
What kind of which other artists do you like from Axe? Whose work are you kind of,
Oh man, I'm really bad with kanji, so a lot of the names miss me. But I really like Ebisu.
Yeah.
Back from the Garo days as well.
Yeah. I'm a big fan. Yeah. I've got a couple of his books here. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I've got
I really like.
What is it called? I Can't Think or something? Yeah. Nani mo moenai, I think.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I've read it. But yeah.
He's got some wild stuff, and he's a celebrity. After I read his manga, I'm shocked that he's so famous in this country, because the stuff he writes is vile.
Yeah.
It's really weird, man. I guess most people don't actually read his stuff.
Yeah, I think they do, though. He's really popular. Have you ever seen him on TV?
No, I haven't, but whenever I mention that I like his manga, people are like, oh yeah, he's really, yeah. I've never seen him though. No.
Yeah, the guy from Tenet. Yeah, yeah. Everybody knows him from TV. I think you're right to say more people know him from TV than they do from his manga. I would say. But yeah, he's great. Yeah, I really like his work. So I first got into Yusaku Hanukuma, who is the guy who did Tokyo Zombie. So I got into his work first, and then years later, I could read it in Japanese, not the English translation, so it was nice to read that. And then afterwards, another artist I really like, he was called he's now called Furimite Yu. He used to be called Saito Yunosuke Saito.
Okay.
Was his name. He did a couple of books. This is one of them.
Oh yeah, I recognize his work. Yeah, I recognize his artwork.
Yeah. This is probably not going to be helpful for the listeners.
Yeah, but, that's true. That's true. Might have to make some edits here.
He's an artist I really, really like. He's one of my favorite manga-ka as well. I read his stuff in Axe, and that was one of the first tankobon, one of the first books I bought was his. He was just finishing up his second book when I was kind of here in Japan reading Axe, so he's one of my favorite manga-ka as well. And then Ebisu-san as well, Yoshikazu Ebisu, I really like his work as well.
Awesome.
The thing is that once I started drawing comics and doing comics myself, it's rude. I didn't really read it as much.
Oh, really?
Once you start doing it, I kind of wanted a break from looking at comics. When you're looking at every day drawing your own manga, you kind of want a break. So I personally did anyway.
I guess that makes sense.
Don't tell the other Axe artists. I'm not reading any of your work.
Huh. Well, I don't know. For me, it's easier for me to get inspired to draw from music, for example, from other artwork, not necessarily from comics. Right? Is it the same for you, where you'd rather experience other kinds of art?
Yeah, for sure. I think I was probably I would say I was definitely influenced by Yusaku Hanukuma because he was the first manga I really, really loved. So I think his work influences me. But apart from that, listening to music, other visual art, maybe films a bit, painting and stuff like that, I would say influenced me more than manga itself. And in terms of coming up with ideas, most of the time it was just walking around. If I needed to come up with I'll put on some music, like you say, something I want to listen to, and just go for a walk around town and see,
Yeah, I definitely believe that after reading your work. That makes a lot of sense, actually.
Yeah, I had an idea, like, once my book comes out, I'm going to take a picture next to all the places where I came out with an idea for my stories, and but no, I never bothered doing it.
That's one of those lofty ideas.
I would say at least half of them came out of just walking around somewhere, and I saw something, I don't know, my mind started to wander, and then I came out with a story from that.
Yeah, I don't know how much I want to talk about the actual content of your work because it's not available in English, right? So people who listen, they won't be able to read it anyway. But basically, Michael does a lot of comedy that is based on ordinary situations that everybody can relate to, and then kind of exaggerating them or highlighting them to show the I don't know. It's not always to show something, I guess. But yeah, basically making something extraordinary out of an ordinary situation is what I would say.
Yeah, and I mean that's great. That's a great description, I think, of what it is. I would say, for sure. Sometimes I'm not showing anything; it's just nonsense. Sometimes I don't know. I don't have a point, but you just sometimes I want to do something funny, or sometimes something I find interesting. Like, for instance, one of my comics I did. Like, have you read this one? I did a comic about a guy. Basically, I got inspired by one of the stories was a simple thing. I was literally taking my work that I finished drawing that morning. I've been like up all night drawing it. I was going to go and hand it into Axe's office to hand in the work, and I was walking down a back street, getting close to the editor's office, the publisher's office, and just as I was walking past, it was me, and maybe a couple of meters in front of me there was another foreign girl. Just two of us. Everybody else walking down this little street is Japanese, but she walked past, and I was walking past this old guy just shouting, "Wow, saikin gaijin hoi na!" Just really shouting, "Oh, there's loads of Japanese around here. There's loads of foreigners around here these days." And I just found it so funny. It's like, if there are that many of us, there's literally like two of us. But I just really found that funny, and you know, that was, I told the editors, and I came there, "Oh, this guy just said that to me." We were laughing. Then that story came out of that, you know, like a nonsense story. It had no meaning, you know. So kind of those kind of moments.
That's hysterical. It's literally just two of you there. I guess you don't know who we saw like half an hour earlier.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know.
Maybe you're the straw that broke the camel's back, you know.
Yeah, I think I was. But it's something, you know, obviously you assume that no one could speak Japanese as well, so you assume like, you know, those old guys with no inhibition, just like at the top of his lungs, just screaming.
Yeah. I think I encountered more of those kind of rude old guys in Tokyo.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because in Tokyo, you had the most tourists, right? So they see the most foreigners that are kind of, I guess, not necessarily rude, but maybe they come off as rude or loud because they're not living in Japan, they're just traveling. So I could see old guys getting really annoyed with having a flood of tourists in their neighborhood, right?
Yeah.
But whenever I meet old people anywhere else, like Fukuoka, Sapporo, Hakodate, everywhere I've been, they're really cool. I've never met anybody who hasn't been just like extremely nice.
Yeah. No, I would say, for me too, I would say overwhelmingly positive experiences living here, and I would say I've not really had any, even that guy, he wasn't he wasn't rude, you know.
Yeah.
So
he wasn't like angry at you.
Really, yeah. I mean, I've heard from other people that I've met and spoken to, foreigners living in Japan, maybe they've had some difficult moments, but me personally, I've been fortunate enough. I've never really had such, you know, I haven't really had experiences like that. So overwhelmingly positive is, you know, my experience with anyone living here. So
yeah, I think most people who've had really negative experiences got a run in with the police. So
yeah, I mean, I can't lie. You know, you get stopped by the police here. You know, not all the time, but it happens. But I mean, to be honest, I got stopped by the police in the UK, and I'm born and raised in that country. So I mean, I think that might have something to do with it. You know, I think if you're an ethnic minority born and raised in another country, you might feel slightly different to, let's say, if you are the majority ethnicity of that country, you live in a foreign country. Maybe that's the first time you're experiencing being a minority.
Yeah, but, that's true.
You know,
that's actually true. That's a good point. Yeah. So you're born in the UK, but your family's from Iran, right?
Yes. Yeah. So yeah, I was born and raised in the UK, but my parents are from Iran, and most of my family still live there, apart from my immediate family. Yeah,
and me as well. I was the first generation born in America. My family's from Armenia.
Yeah.
So do you think that actually makes it easier, or made it easier for you to decide to move to Japan? Because maybe from the beginning you didn't really feel like 100% that you belonged in England anyway. Is that part of it?
Maybe. I don't know. I never really thought about it. I mean, of course, if you ask me where's home is London. You know, okay. I've been to Iran maybe only 10 times or something in my life. I speak English better than I speak Persian, so I would still say London is home, if you ask me. But I think the longer I live away, the less it feels like home, I would say.
Yeah, even for me, I've only been here for 4 years, and I went back for Christmas 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And my immediate reaction upon landing in Boston was that I wanted to go back to Japan. Because you land there, and it's just like a desolate wasteland, man. American airports are so bad. There's just nothing. There's like one fat lady who says, "Welcome, America." She's like half asleep. And then you look around, there's just this long, dark hallway, basically, and there's like one kiosk selling Doritos and Sprite. And that's it. That's all you really get, and then you're on your own. You've got to find your way. You got to make your way to the subway or taxi, and nobody really is there to help you.
Yeah.
It's just,
I know.
I don't know.
I don't know, it's weird, like, I guess because I worked in a gallery as well. I love, don't get me, the services here in Japan. It's like, it's amazing. It's one of the things I love about it.
You land in the Japanese airport, it feels like you're the king of the castle, you know? So like
Yeah. But I kind of miss, like, when I went back to London the last time, I just kind of miss how laid back it is. Like, I went to where I used to live. I went to, like, the corner shop, the newsagents, just the shop, you know, selling, like your convenience store in Japan. And I just, like, went in there, and the woman behind the counter, she's just, you know, sitting there by the cash machine with, like, a bowl of soup, dipping her bread in it while she's serving me, you know? And it's just like, I can imagine in Japan, you're in the convenience, the guy's just eating soup, you know, dipping his bread into it, taking your money with one hand. But I just liked it. It reminded, you know, there's something, you know, the laid backness of the UK is something, you know, I do miss, you know.
Yeah, no, I do like that.
Work.
It's true, though.
It's nice to be on this side. It's nice to be the customer in Japan. But if you're on the other side and you have to work, it's not as, you know. Sometimes I feel like, relax, okay, don't worry.
Yeah, I like that's another. I like that too. About America, I think is about the same. Where I think maybe we kind of think more logically about ourselves, and we think about ourselves first. It's more of like a self-centered society, maybe you could say, as opposed to thinking about, oh, I have to be a certain way for everybody because you know, I'm part of this bigger thing, maybe. Yeah. But I mean that I think a lot of people, if they're working like a convenience store job in America, they're thinking, well, I'm not getting paid that much money, so I'm not gonna try that hard. There's not really a reason for me to try that hard. And you think about it logically, and then you don't try so hard, right? I know, I did the same thing when I lived in America. I worked at a cell phone store, and when there were no customers in the store, I read books, and I listened to jazz music. I just chilled out, you know? Where in Japan, you could never do that. You have to always be doing something. You have to be cleaning the store, you have to be running around and, like, I don't know, doing marketing or whatever the hell. You're never just going to get to read a book on the job, you know?
Yeah. I mean, it was a great experience. I liked working. One of the, you know, I did like working here, and I was like fortunate enough I was working in a kind of job where it was obviously to do with art, because I was working in a gallery, but then it was connected to like I got to see the business side of it sometimes as well, because they had the main office for the company that owned the gallery, and everything was on the same floor of the gallery I worked in, so I got to go in and talk to like the shacho sometimes, and you know, all that really formal business, you know, Japanese kind of culture. I got to like dip my feet into that a little bit and see what it's like, but I couldn't. I mean, it's amazing the people who come here and work like as actual salaryman, like full-time businessman, like as a foreigner here. It's like I don't think I could do that. That's a bit much.
Oh yeah. Yeah, some guys, you know, working in a regular Japanese company was kind of scary.
Yeah.
I'm working at a nice little eikaiwa school, so I just talk to people for a living. And it's cool because I get to meet a lot of different people. Like one of my students is a heart surgeon, so.
Oh wow.
Yeah, you meet some interesting characters. He's like, yeah, man, I just cut open this dude's heart like 20 minutes ago, and now I'm here. I'm like, like wow, I've just been sitting here all day, like.
So what would your like aims? You know, you said you just wanted to come to live in Japan, so you came to Japan. Now you're here, like, and you like, what is your aim? What do you want to do now you're here?
Oh man, springed it on me now.
No, I'm intrigued.
Well, just 2 weeks ago, I got a new PC because I wanted to take YouTube more seriously. So I thought I'd try YouTube more because I thought every other thing that I want to do, which is kind of art, music, whatever I decide to do, you can't really promote it without having an online presence. So I may as well start with YouTube and take it more seriously again, because then it's easier to be successful with anything else I want to do.
Yeah.
Because, like, my parents are actually both artists.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so I've always been drawing. Since I was a baby, you know, they didn't give me toys, they just gave me pencils. No, that's a bit of an exaggeration. But, yeah, so I know that it's really hard to become a professional artist. So since I was a kid, I never really wanted to become a professional artist. I've always thought about, okay, how can I actually get my work out there? Because I think we both know there's plenty of people who don't really have much talent for art, and they're not actually very good, but they're crazy successful because they have talent in other areas. They're good with business, they're good with marketing, they're good with promoting their stuff, and that's what matters the most, I guess.
So is there a kind of, what's the art scene like in Sapporo? Is there any kind of...
Oh, I have no idea, man. I'm not very involved.
That's the thing, like, I'm not such a, you know, I'm not so good with, like, online things. I don't really like it that much, you know, so,
yeah.
You know a lot more about it than me, like, so you're more interested in to be, like, you know, get your work on the internet than, say, I don't know, a local gallery or something like that? Or...
I think so. I haven't really tried, though. I think because of Corona, I haven't really gotten into the city yet, because I moved it here while the virus was going on.
Oh, okay.
So I don't really know how the city is normally, but people are still pretty apprehensive about going to events and things like that, so... I haven't really been motivated to go meet artists or musicians and things like that, but I do want to make a band as well. But anyway, I'm kind of like a jack of all trades, master of garbage. I could do a little bit of everything, like piano, guitar.
Yeah.
I'm not good at anything, though. So yeah.
You know, like here in Tokyo, I don't know if it's the same. You know, busking's massive here.
Oh, really?
You know, like you go outside. Yeah, you know, outside the big stage and stuff, like busking, like it's like when I think of busking in London, it's like a guy with an acoustic guitar and a harmonica.
Yeah.
Here it's like they've got like sound systems and they've got like PAs. You know, there's a guy. I was walking past some buskers and there's a drum kit and you know they've got their amps and everything.
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
Like they're selling CDs with fans standing around them. It's
professional buskers.
Yeah, it's a different level.
Yeah, you don't see much of that in Sapporo because half the year is like Siberia.
Yeah, I mean, I've never been up there, but it just looks like, okay, I can't live there. It's way too cold.
But the rest of Japan is too hot, is the problem. That's my issue. Tokyo summer, man. The first time I studied abroad like 6 years ago in Hachioji.
Yeah.
And that was miserable. I think that was the hottest summer of my life.
Yeah, the summers here, the humidity is too much for me.
Yeah.
But I don't know, the cold, I can't. My body is not built for that kind of cold. I can't take it. I take my chances in the Tokyo summer. I
mean, I might have to make my way over to Tokyo at some point anyway.
Yeah.
I feel like everybody ends up moving to Tokyo.
You didn't spend any significant time here?
Just 6 months.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I liked it. Like this, it's nothing wrong with it. I just haven't made my way back yet.
Yeah. When you go to other parts of Japan, they say the food in Tokyo is not good. I always hear people say that to me.
Yeah. But people always like to talk shit about Tokyo.
Right.
That's the thing.
Yeah, to me the food's amazing.
People, everywhere else you go in Japan, like whether it was Fukuoka or Sapporo, everybody says, people in Tokyo are cold. You hear this a lot.
Yeah.
Like, Tokyo is so cold, right? And nobody wants to move there. They think, it's too crowded, there's too many people, it's too big, it's too cold. And then everybody in Tokyo doesn't want to leave. So which is it?
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe it is cold to people. I don't think it's any different from London. It's probably the same as any big city in my experience. Compared to smaller cities, it probably is a bit cold, but all big cities are the same. I kind of feel.
Yeah, I don't think Tokyo's actually that big because it's subdivided into all these different kind of smaller cities, right?
Yeah, that's true. It's like a collection of loads of
Yeah. So you've got this big group called Tokyo, then you have these other mini cities, and then inside those cities you have your neighborhoods, and then it feels like anywhere else. Like if you live in Shimokitazawa, you're not feeling like, oh wow, I'm in this huge city every morning. It's not that bad. It's totally fine.
Yeah, exactly. And exactly. It's a lot more local in lots of ways, depending where you live. It's like where I live, I would say. So I live in a pretty central, I would say, in Tokyo, but there's loads of local little shops and things like that, and it's a different vibe depending on the area, like you say. So
yeah.
You'd be interested, I think.
There's one thing that you said in the interview, actually, is you said, sad stories make us happy. And you're really partial to sad stories.
I guess I am.
And I thought that was kind of interesting, because I never thought about it that way. I like sad stories a lot of the time, but I've never thought that they make me happy.
Yeah, what did I mean? I think, I don't know, I think I'm a pretty happy, kind of outgoing, I don't know who is happy, but I think I'm a pretty outgoing person, but I like kind of melancholy, kind of sad stories. They're the things that interest me, and I think they always did when I was younger, and they're still the same to this day, and I find them maybe uplifting, I find it kind of warming, almost, something.
Is it because it's relatable when you see another character experiencing a similar sort of sad situation? Or is it just because it's sadder than your life? So by comparison, you feel happy?
I don't know. Hopefully, I try and make it maybe sad, but there's this kind of something. Hopefully, I would say a lot of my stories, they might be sad, but not depressing. Is the way I would like to give it, that they're sad, but there's something uplifting in it. There's something, positive in there somewhere.
Actually, I've never thought that any of your X stories were sad. After reading them, I never came out with the impression that they were sad.
Yeah.
I thought they were funny.
Yeah, I mean, thank you. I tried to make them funny, but I guess if you had to look at it like a happy ending, the traditional kind of comic structure, then maybe there are not so many big payoffs, kind of big happy endings at the end of each story.
Okay, like this one about the party, the friend party. He goes to the friend party, he tries to talk to people, nobody really talks to him, and then everybody turns into like a monster, which I guess is kind of like a social anxiety monster, right, where he can't even see individual people anymore, and they're just blended into this mass. And
huge crowd,
Yeah, but then in the end, the monster wants to be his friend, right?
Yeah. I mean, if you say it like that, your listeners must be like, well, this guy made it as a manga-ka. But, hopefully there's a bit more to it than that.
I'm oversimplifying here, but so I guess it does have a sad kind of feeling, but I think it's partially also due to your artwork, which is kind of light. You use a lot of light lines. There's not a lot of sort of bold, like dark lines, and I think the mood is very light. Even if you meet this like angry man here, like, how angry is he really? He doesn't come off that angry. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I try to make it a little, maybe some of the themes might be a bit, I don't want to say dark, but a bit sad, but then I try to have like a light touch. And the artwork is, obviously, I like to draw by hand, and one of the things is when I came to Japan, there's a big art shop here in Tokyo. They got like all the, the the screen tone you can use that, you cut out and, stick on the different tones of grey and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I just loved that. And so that was one of the things I wanted to use a lot in the stories. So I tried to, have as much fun as I could with the drawing.
Yeah, cool. I'm trying to think about, like, if I asked you if you had advice for people who wanted to become professional comic artists, but I think we've already kind of touched on that without directly giving advice.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure I'm in a position to be giving other people advice because
Yeah, well,
I'd say I don't 100% know what I'm doing either. But if I had to plainly say, if you want to do manga, do this, this, and this, it's number one, you have to learn Japanese.
Okay.
And the second is think about why do you want to draw comics in Japan specifically. If you just like living in Japan, that's probably not going to be a good enough reason just to come,
Yeah, for sure.
Come to Japan and draw comics. And maybe think about, I don't know, maybe, we just already talked about it. Think about bringing something different. Because whatever country you'll come from, whatever your background, you're going to have a way of thinking and you're going to have experiences that Japanese mangaka don't have. And there's going to be an audience who are interested in that and they do want to kind of read about different, read a story that comes from different, a different angle from what they're used to. It doesn't have to be literally, you don't have to make a story about, there's a foreigner living in Japan, aren't Japanese so funny? We do like this in America and you do like this in Japan, But I mean, just your background and where you've come from is going to form your view of, the world and the kind of stories you come up with. And I think there's going to be Japanese readers who find that interesting.
You know what? I think that goes beyond manga too, where maybe a lot of people come to Japan, they want to sort of blend into Japanese society. And of course the first step is learning Japanese, but once you do, then where you come from and who you are is your strength, because it separates you from other people here. That's how you stand out. Or it's the easy way to stand out. So whatever you do, you should probably try to take advantage of that rather than trying too hard to kind of like quote unquote be Japanese,
Yeah, I think it's true. And I think it's it's a big country with it's a lot of different, but like you said, the different cities and different there are different cultures within this big country as well. Pretty much like anywhere, I'm sure America is the same, and the UK is the same, Iran is the same. So there's lots of stuff to feed off. Like I say, I don't know if I'm one to be giving advice. I'm sure there's other people. I'm still trying to work it out myself. So.
No, I mean, well, I don't know. Who's anybody to give advice, right?
Yeah.
I think it's definitely, you're definitely somebody that a lot of people would be interested in hearing,
if I could, one bit of advice that I think worked for me is, if you want to come to Japan and draw manga, it's really think about what do you like and who do you want to work with. I mean, there's so many manga magazines, and I think you got to really like that that magazine and think what it is you like about that magazine. Because I think if it's like, well, I like the way that the drawings look, that's probably not going to be enough of a reason for you to be a match for that magazine. I think it's going to be a lot more to do with the content. Like I would say maybe, Axe is full of different drawing styles, but there's an overall kind of atmosphere or kind of themes that kind of bind it together as a magazine. And I feel like that was the kind of magazine I wanted to be a part of. So I think that's a good way of thinking about it. What kind of work do you really love and why do you love it? And then maybe that would be a direction to kind of go in, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, that's perfect. That's a really good point. Yeah. Because the most popular magazines are also the most difficult to get into. So
yeah, sure.
Most people are reading Shonen Jump. I think that's the biggest magazine, even internationally. So maybe if you were curious about doing this and getting into it yourself, reading a bunch of different magazines is the best way to start, right? And seeing where you think you could fit in.
Yeah.
But I think most people maybe would just be, most international artists who are into manga are just going to try to self-publish their own, or publish it in their own country, right? You don't have to come to Japan. So
that's true.
You can make a manga style work and then just publish it somewhere else, right? So
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Unless you it's a good point. Why specifically do you want to come here? Because it's going to take time, it's going to take money, it's going to take effort. Unless you specifically want a Japanese audience to see your work, then you don't need
So that just brings us back to you and why specifically did you really want to sort of join Axe that much that you didn't want to publish in the UK?
Yeah, I think I just really wanted to be part of this manga magazine. I just really wanted to do it with them. If not, I wouldn't.
Oh, wow.
I wouldn't have all this way. I just really liked it, and I thought if I'm going to do it, I want to do it here. And I knew well enough that I'm not going to be able to do that back in London without speaking Japanese and without being a part of this country. So that was the motivation for me. I really wanted to be in this magazine.
That is so sick. That's really cool. Man, I can't get over it. Because it's so specific. It's like a little pinpoint, right? And you just zoomed in on it and kept going until you got there. That's just awesome.
Yeah, I mean, it's like I said at the beginning, I just didn't think how easy or difficult it would be to do. I just wanted to do it, and eventually, I just I knocked on the door hard enough, and eventually they let me in.
Is that advice? Don't think about if you can do it or not. Just find something that you really want to do and do it.
Yeah, I think that's good advice. I think it makes sense. And
that's okay. This is not really an advice show, man. I don't know. I don't have any advice.
Cut this.
I'm gonna edit it a bit. That's for sure. Yeah, it's not going in raw.
Thank you. Make it look like I know what I'm talking about, please.
What was it like growing up in the UK, being from an Iranian background and having your family kind of separate from the rest of your extended family?
I mean, I think anyone, when you look back, you have a happy you have all the happy memories of your childhood. I mean, when I grew up in the UK, I grew up in a very, I would say not diverse area. Mm-hmm. So, and we grew up in a time when I was younger. There was the Iran-Iraq war. It was on TV all the time. The only times I would ever see anything about Iran on TV is like bombing and all this kind of, things. So,
yeah,
I think I was very lucky that my parents gave me like a connection to Iran. Our house was like, very Iranian and, all, just the fun and nice stuff that every culture has, I was exposed to that growing up. And I think we weren't I think in the UK with certain communities, there are big, areas which have like a lot of, people from that community living together. And we didn't really have that when I was growing up. So I think that definitely had an influence on me. And like I said, I think maybe that's why when I moved here to Japan, I didn't really find it difficult in that sense of the idea of being, a foreigner or being known to be, different from everyone else, I think since I'm old enough to remember, I had that feeling anyway growing up in the UK.
So you said it wasn't a diverse area, so it's mostly white.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But did you feel like you fit in with everybody else? Like, well enough? Did you get along with kids at school and, play all the
Yeah,
same sports and all that stuff?
yeah, kids are kids, so, you know, people would make fun of me for, you know, back then, for your skin color. And, you know, I was a pretty sensitive kid, so I didn't like it, but I was no angel. I was making fun of another kid for being fat, or another kid for having this, or, you know, like some kid came in with a bad haircut, everyone made fun of them. So, you know, that was like just a normal part of growing up. So in that sense, I definitely knew I was different because people told you that when I was from when I was younger.
Okay.
But when I would say it definitely, I think it had an effect on me. Yeah, I knew I was different, but I think my parents, you know, told us that anyway, I think, you know. So when I was I didn't really know the difference. I didn't know, like, other people's parents didn't speak a different language in the house. Well, I just assumed every house was like that. It wasn't until I got older that I realized, okay, that's not the case, you know. And I think I didn't go to Iran until I was 15. The first time I went there was, you know, because like there was, when I was younger, just before I was born, there was the revolution in Iran, and then there was like a 8-year war. And then when things settled down and I first went there, then I kind of like realized, I don't know if it was just a romantic idea, or if I don't know, maybe you can relate to this or not. I would like to hear what you think. But then the first time I went back to it, I felt like, oh, this is some kind of, I don't know, on a physiological level or something. Oh, this is home, you know. I smelled the air, and, you know, I felt like, okay, this is the thing I've been missing growing up. I don't know how you feel.
I went to Armenia for the first time. What was it? 4 or 5 years ago. So.
Oh, really?
I was like 17. No. Is that true? No, I'm 26. I can't do math, man. It's pretty early in the morning. Can't do 26 minus 5. So I was about 2021, I guess.
Yeah.
I first went to Armenia, and there are only 10 million Armenians in the world, right? So it's very, very rare where you actually meet somebody who is Armenian outside of Armenia, besides your family. But actually, I think we have the same experience. I used to go to Armenian school every Saturday.
Oh, yeah, I did exactly that. I used to go to Persian school every Saturday morning too.
Yeah. So I had a little bit of that going on when I was a kid.
Yeah.
But anyway, when I first arrived in Armenia, and then everything around me was the Armenian language, and everybody's speaking the Armenian language, it does feel like that's where you're supposed to be.
Yeah.
Because up until that point, I had always been a minority, right?
Yeah.
But especially for me, I have an Armenian name.
Yeah.
So, and it's not only an Armenian name, but it's a name that nobody can say. So it's always been mispronounced my entire life. And I think the name is so important, especially when you're younger, because I look at it more of like almost an adjective of where if you're called something your whole life, you're going to be that thing. So like if my name was Tony and I was called Tony my whole life, then I was going to be a Tony.
Yeah.
And I think I would have been a different person. I think it actually has an impact on you because the way that your name is said and the way that your name is perceived. Whenever I say my name to anybody, the first reaction I get is what? Because it's uncommon and people can't say it. So I always have to clarify. I can't just say my name is Joe and move on, right? So I think my name actually made me stand out more than I otherwise would have because I look pretty white. Like I'm a white person, right? I would have gotten along fine. But it's my name that got the kids to separate me basically from a young age. I think.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Because growing up, because my full name is Michael Aubtin Madadi, and I make a point, of course, I always use my full name on anything I do, but growing up I was, you know, just Michael. So I had which is like a Mikhail in Persian, in the Iranian language.
Yeah.
So, everybody just called me Michael, and I think, I don't know, maybe that influenced I kind of feel like maybe that I never got deep into it. That might have influenced my mum on why she gave like me and my brother these kind of like Christian names.
Yeah, like biblical classic names, you know? I think
Yeah,
that's a smart thing to do, to be honest.
I think in our head it was, but when it doesn't make a difference. If you look different, you are different. When I was growing up, so I think I think it maybe in some ways it was easier for me in that sense. But if you're different, you're different. Especially growing up in schools. And like I remember my first day, like I went to in high school, in secondary school, I was a bit nervous. It was like a big school. I didn't really know that many people. And the first day, and the first, my teacher reads out the name, and he's like, Madadi, my daddy, and he starts going, and the class starts laughing. Everyone, because they've all got, British English names, and it's like, it's like, I'm aware, of course, that you're different growing up, but once I was old enough to kind of understand that, I wouldn't have it any other way, and I felt, kind of very grateful for, having those kind of two backgrounds,
Yeah. I definitely wouldn't change anything. I don't want to have been born a different way or anything like that.
Yeah. I think it's like, I read about these kind of things a lot, and I do understand it. It's like diaspora say, I'm not really this and I'm not really that, and it's true. You are not. I'm not 100% Iranian. I don't speak the Persian language as well as I speak English.
Yeah.
I probably speak Japanese even better than I can speak Persian. And and in lots of ways you're not English, and people remind you of that, in lots of different ways. So that's true. But then on the flip side, you are lots of things that other people aren't. I am both things in a way other people aren't. So I kind of always looked at it in a probably more positive way than negative, I would say, as an overall.
Okay. Yeah, that's kind of interesting.
Rather than not fitting in anywhere, which I do understand when people say that you don't fit in anywhere. I feel like I fit in enough in different places. I might not 100% fit in one place, but I kind of fit in pretty good in two completely different places, which is amazing to me, I think,
Yeah. Maybe it's a little bit different in the UK as compared to America, because I had never felt at all that I'm not American, right? In any way.
I see, yeah.
Because everybody's American, You can be from literally anywhere in the world. You show up, you get your green card, you're American now. That's the whole idea, right? But maybe UK's getting there now, right? It's changing pretty quickly. But maybe there's still this idea of like what it means to be British that's a little bit different than that.
I think maybe when I was younger, growing up in the 80s and 90s, is different to now. I think that identity's changed a lot, maybe. And it, like I say, it just depends on your background and whereabouts you grew up, and so like I grew up in a very like the outside of London, a very kind of very kind of white British English kind of area, and so there was a very specific idea of what being English was,
Yeah. Okay.
Back in that time, most of the non-English people were probably like former colonies, parts of the former British Empire, from the West Indies, some people from Africa, and South Asia. So it's a kind of different. I think. I mean, I don't know America very well, but I think it's kind of slightly different.
Yeah.
And then that's kind of not that dissimilar to Japan. I don't know what you think, but there is very much an idea of what, the Japanese, what being Japanese means, So I have a strong identity.
I think there is and there isn't. I think that's kind of funny because what is Japanese? If you look at the food, you look at the language, most of it came from China. So at what point did it become Japanese? And at what point did it stop being Chinese? And at what point did we say, okay, let's draw the line here, and we don't want to change from this point, because if we change, then we're losing our Japanese-ness, right? Because there's always been influence, not just China, but even like tempura, for example, came from the Portuguese in the 1600s. So there's always been influence. There's tons of American influence in Japan now. There's tons more English being pushed into the language. It's constantly changing. It's constantly taking influences. So like at what point, I don't know, where do you draw the line? Like what is Japanese really? I don't know.
Yeah, I know. I think one thing that's interesting about Japan, maybe that kind of influences how they think, is that period where they just decided to completely close off the country from the rest of the world. You know, for those 100 years in the Edo period, where they were like, okay, no one's allowed in, no one's allowed out. And I think maybe, like you said, up until then, they had a lot more kind of Chinese influence. I mean, I'm not a historian, so I might be talking complete nonsense, but I feel like that period of, where they completely closed Japan off to the rest of the world kind of influences the kind of modern Japanese identity.
That would make sense, I guess. Okay, maybe that's true. But then what about baseball? Like, baseball is Japanese, It's very Japanese.
Yeah.
It's a huge part of Japanese culture, but it's American. And it's only been popular in the last... I don't
understand baseball. It's on TV all the time here. Obviously, we don't have it back home in the UK, so...
Oh, yeah. I mean, I grew up... Well, I never liked sports. I grew up playing Nintendo games, but... Yeah. I mean, baseball is a thing. It's not very exciting.
That's my probably first. When you say early on, I didn't have many connections to Japan. What I would say I did know about Japan growing up is playing games, computer games, video games.
Oh, okay.
I used to play video games when I was a kid. Sega was massive in the UK.
All right.
So I used to play Sega games, and then when I got a bit older, MMA was really popular when I was younger. Japanese MMA was massive. So I got into it then. And so those are my first cultural, the first times I was introduced to things from Japan would probably be computer games. Video games when I was a kid, then MMA when I was a bit older. And then much later, then I read some Japanese comics. So
thinking about it now, I probably got kind of inadvertently brainwashed when I was a child to move to Japan eventually, because everything I was interested in happened to be Japanese.
Yeah.
I got a Game Boy Color when I was 4 years old, and I was already playing Pokemon. That's kind of messed up, man. And then I continued playing Nintendo games until now. I have a Nintendo Switch now, so they got me good, man. When I was a child.
I like them. I don't have time to play video games. I haven't played them in years, to be honest. I used to really enjoy it.
I've got a bad habit of buying them, but I don't have the time to actually play them very much.
Yeah. So I guess in that sense pretty similar. I knew these games came from Japan. There was you would get import, because they all, so many games would never come out in the UK, but they come out in Japan, so you used to have to buy these import games. So that's probably the first time I'm seeing Japanese characters, the kanji and things like that. So I guess subconsciously I had some kind of connection, but I never literally I never looked at these games. I was going to say I want to move to this country, or but I think I was definitely aware of Japanese culture growing up.
I think that's why your story is so interesting. It's because there are just millions of people who are dreaming to make it in Japan, and then you were just never doing that, and you just happened to sort of decide to do it one day. It wasn't this huge lifelong ambition.
I mean, if you say it like that, but it wasn't. If Axe was from another country, I would have gone to that country. If Axe was Italian, I would have wanted to go to Italy.
So it's more of just falling in love with Axe.
Yeah, exactly.
Man,
and
that's beautiful.
Yeah.
I love Axe, man.
So
I really love Axe.
Yeah, me too. Yeah,
Axe really got me back into manga. I kind of lost interest.
Oh, really? Yeah, I'm glad to hear it. I asked them. I was like, why don't you publish more stuff in English? And they said, they just, it's just not they seem to get maybe some, these days, some interest from some publishers and stuff like that. But, they're making it for a Japanese audience. So that's the kind of the priority, I guess, but I would love for them to translate more stuff into English, I was waiting for years for a second anthology of Axe,
Yeah.
Volume 2.
Yeah, I kept Googling it and like looking at it, and they had the cover. They actually teased the cover
exactly,
out, yeah. But it just never came out.
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly what happened. I think the editor who was involved in it is no longer involved or something like that. I'm not sure the details, to be honest. But yeah, I wish they would do more stuff in English. But they seem to do like individual tankobon, individual manga books do get translated in English. Like Ebisu-san's mangas are being, I don't know if you've seen, they've done like a few English translations recently.
Oh, really?
So.
No, I'm totally out of the loop now. I used to buy everything in English, and now I'm just out of the game.
Yeah, I think like one of his, I think 2 of his first tankobon or something have been translated into English, so...
That's really cool.
If anyone's interested in those, I think.
That's something for listeners of the podcast to pick up if you're interested.
Yeah,
Get Ebisu-san's manga.
Yeah, I don't know how well known Axe is in, these days outside of Japan, but
yeah, I mean, I will link your Tokyo Undulation tankobon in. Yeah, it's on Amazon JP, if that's okay, if that's an okay link. Yeah, so if anybody's interested, you can buy it. You're gonna have to, I don't know, you're gonna have to figure out the Japanese.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, I would say, I don't know if you noticed, but I wrote the stories in Japanese. I didn't write them in English in my head and then translate them to Japanese. I wrote them. I thought it would be easier to write the story, think of the stories in Japanese and write them in Japanese. So
yeah,
it's not the language isn't too complicated. I would say probably as well from the beginning to the end. You might probably be able to see my language progression as I got better at Japanese. I start maybe even the language gets more advanced. So I don't know. That might be you pick up.
That's true. It is really simple. It's easy to read.
Yeah.
So if you do know a basic level of Japanese, and you have an application to scan and translate the kanji, then I'd say you could definitely pick up the book and check it out. Give it a read. Or even if you can't read it, I mean, well, I don't know. I don't want to say that. I think it's really funny, so you do want to be able to read it.
Yeah, I think it's, with all comics, it's nice to look at the artwork sometimes, but I would say definitely to anyone who's interested, I mean, yeah, we said like Yoshikazu Ebisu is a great mangaka and his stuff is in English, and Yusaku Hanakuma, who has Tokyo Zombie in English and I don't know, he might have some other stuff. And also, another one of my favorite mangaka is a guy called Yunosuke Saito. This guy, Yunosuke Saito, who now makes manga under a different name of Furimuite Yu. He's another Axe mangaka who I was a really big fan of. When I first went there, on my first day when I went into the editor's office, he was there, and I was like, oh, I'm a big fan.
No way.
I freaked him out a little bit. He was like, who the hell is this guy? I was just like, hi, I'm Michael. And I didn't explain, I'm also, he just thought this random foreigner had just turned up. They had to explain, this is Michael. He's also like...
Oh, man, that's great.
Yeah, so anyone who's interested, I mean, those would be they're my biggest influences in terms of mangaka. So,
cool, great.
Saito Yunosuke, his stuff is only in Japanese, I think, or maybe one of his stories is in the anthology.
Ah, okay. Yeah, no, I think so. It was a really short one, I think, a couple pages.
Yeah, there's like a giant. They're in a desert, and there's a giant, and like a girl.
That's the one where he's yeah.
He hides under his shadow.
Yeah, it's just pissing. Yeah.
Yeah,
what's one of the best stories?
Yeah, I don't know if you can see this. This is probably not.
Oh man, I gotta buy that book. I gotta buy that book right now.
His early work, he's obsessed with male genitalia. I don't know how else to put it,
Yeah. But
so,
that's kind of
refreshing. Male genitalia. Check out his work.
It's kind of refreshing though, because usually it's censored.
Yeah, that's the thing about Axe. Like, there's all sorts of, I mean, basically they'll I found it interesting. They publish anything. Some of the visuals. They will literally publish anything. But then I wrote one story where it's got like some swearing in it. And that was something I did write in English because it's like a story about, I mean, I think you've seen this, like lots of people have lots of Japanese have like English language t-shirts or like prints on the tops that they don't know what it means, you know, like, I don't know if it was a band or something, but I always remember like, just this like young guy walking down the street and he had absolute fucking darkness written on his top. And I just absolute fucking darkness. And so, I made a story about how all this random English on people's t-shirts actually kind of put together made sentences and was speaking to this main character.
Yeah. And then, so like usually it means nothing, but what if it means everything?
Yeah. What if like these two separate t-shirts don't mean anything, but when the two people stand next to each other, it goes together and it makes, you know, like a kind of, you know, starts to make a message. And so there was one bit in that where it was in English, so I put like swearing. And that was like the only time they were like, they didn't care anything about all the drawing, but this was the one time they were like, okay, there's certain words we can't put in, because they won't put it in the bookshops. They won't put it out on the bookshelf to sell.
Just because it has that word inside.
Yeah, so you got to.
So you can have giant dicks urinating on people,
no problem.
but you can't have the word fuck.
Yeah, I was like, what? That's like, I mean, to have the word in English is no problem, but when it was translating into Japanese, they were like, we have to be kept like certain words.
Really?
We have to be careful not to use. Yeah.
I didn't know that part. That's
English
interesting.
Is fine. You can write anything in English. So.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
That's really funny. The best T-shirt I've seen, by the way, I didn't see it personally. My friend took a photo of it. He said it was on Father's Day, and it was a father walking with his two little like school-age daughters, holding hands, one on each side, and the back of his shirt said "Fuck my life."
Oh my god. I love it.
Oh man, it's such a great photo. It's really good.
But it's a cliche as well. But you know, like with the music, if you're listening to the radio in the middle of the day and they're playing like full uncensored songs, you know, it's a bit of a shock. You're just in like a department store, you know, and then like they're blasting out on the speaker system in the shop, like uncensored, like song lyrics. That's always something that I'm still a bit shocked when I hear that.
You've heard like English swears in the department stores?
No, you know, like I don't know, Japanese radio or something. They don't. I don't know what it's like in America, but you can't swear on in songs, so they'll censor words. You know, they'll censor swearing and stuff like that. But like on Japanese radio, they'll just play like that because it's all not. They don't understand them. Makes no difference if they fuck or not. So they'll just like play uncensored music. You know.
Huh. I've never noticed, no.
Really?
Yeah.
Every time it happens, I'm always like,
maybe because I mostly listen to music on my headphones when I go to department stores and stuff. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I never really pay attention to the music they're playing.
Are you a big Japanese music fan? Do you listen to it?
Yeah. I like a lot of different Japanese bands, yeah. Do you know Zazen Boys?
Oh, I don't.
Oh man, you're in Tokyo. I envy you. You go see their concerts right now, man.
What kind of stuff is it?
It's fucking insane, man. Do you know Number Girl?
No, okay. Like I don't think I'm any
Well, no. Anyway, it's the same guy. I think you'd like it just if you like music in terms of good musicians. Like if you like seeing just amazing craftsmanship. They're really good and they're unique. It's kind of like if there was a magazine for music, they would be in X.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I think like
they're really
cool. When I think of like when I meet the other X artists, the other manga-ka, they're kind of like a lot of them maybe they're a little bit older than me. They're into punk. A lot of them like punk. When they think UK, they think punk, and they like ask me questions and. I don't like punk music, and they're always really disappointed. They're like, "Oh, you're from England. Don't you like punk music? Don't you like the Sex Pistols?" Like, no, sorry, I don't really like that kind of stuff. But that's like I think they relate to that kind of, that ethos, maybe that's the kind of stuff, you know. Like,
Yeah, because they're like the manga
that would be
punks.
yeah, exactly. For
Yeah.
sure, you know, that would kind of that would be the music.
But at the same time,
Yeah,
I
like-
think it's a little bit different than that, though, because punk, at a certain point, kind of sounds similar. In the beginning, it was going against the norm, but then it became its own norm, where Axe still has not reached that point. It still does have a lot of individual characters, I think.
Yeah, exactly, definitely. I think like certain manga magazines, they're not limited to one style, but they'll have a certain kind of visual style that they'll lean towards. Maybe that are easier for their viewers to, you know, understand. And yeah, Axe 100% isn't like that. They take any kind of style, and whenever the, you know, new people that come along, it's always like, I really enjoy looking at the new kind of artists that they start working with, you know, because it's always so varied, the style.
Yeah. Man, I gotta read more X. I'm slacking because I'm still not that great at reading Japanese, so I have to look up a lot of the kanji, so I'm very slow with it.
Yeah, I do that too. I look up I mean, now you've got like my phone, you know, it's just, I'm so lazy. I used to really study hard, you know.
Yeah,
and now the only time I'll write kanji is when I'm having to write my manga, you know. Other than that,
I've never actually studied. I never went to a school or anything, like a language school.
yeah.
I just listened to a lot of podcasts and anime. But like, I mean, listen to anime. I didn't really even watch it. I just had it on the side.
Yeah.
And I would be
That's
playing
the best way
like
ever. Yeah, just like immerse yourself. When I was the same when I first, like the first year and a half, it was like, okay, I'm only going to listen to Japanese radio, and I tried to watch loads of Japanese TV, and just really tried to.
And you were going to language school.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
that's really full on.
Yeah, because I really wanted to work here. So I came here with a aim, and I really wanted to make it happen as quickly as possible. So I don't know, that when I was at language school, everyone else was going out having a good time, having fun, and I was like that really annoying kid in class. I was putting my hand up every time to answer the questions, and like, yes, I know the answer, you know, because I took it really, really seriously, and I really wanted to work here. So, you know, I was that boring kid in class, unfortunately.
Yeah, no, but that's a really inspiring story, man. Thank you so much for coming on. It was
My
really,
pleasure.
really awesome to talk to you. As soon as I saw your name, I thought, wow, I want to talk to this guy. And now I got to talk to this guy.
Yeah, no, thank you, and you know, thanks for reading Axe. Like I said, I don't know how many foreigners are reading it. I mean, I've had heard from a few people, Axe readers who are living in Japan, who are foreign, who you know, like very kindly bought the book or got in contact. But there's not many people, so you know, I appreciate you taking interest and having me on to, you know, chat about it.
Oh, thanks so much, man. And I think that your story is really inspiring for a lot of people out there as well. And for me, I think I want to work on a comic. I think I want to submit to the award thing. The new, what is it? The New Artist Award?
Axe every year has a newcomers award. Anyone can enter. You're free to enter. Unlike other big comics, they'll give you money as well when you win, but unfortunately, you're not going to get any money for winning a competition in Axe. But anyone can enter if you can submit in Japanese. And, you know, if you're interested in that kind of manga, I would say for sure.
Yeah, no, that sounds really cool. Because that's actually another thing that you mentioned in the Axe interview. Is you mentioned that this is before Axe and everything, your first Kodansha competition. You mentioned that you wanted to draw comics, you were interested in drawing comics, but you felt like you needed a goal, so that's why you seeked out the competition to begin with, because otherwise you wouldn't actually have finished the comic. Like there wouldn't be the motivation, right? Yeah,
exactly. It's like I basically decided I wanted to draw a comic, my first comic, and I just had a quick look on the internet, like, is there any kind of, I don't know, like some kind of competition or some kind of deadline, something for me to have an aim towards. And then I found this
Yeah. So you seeked out the external deadline. Like for me, I have trouble finishing things on my own.
Yeah,
You
no,
know.
I know that thing. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's actually a really
It-
smart thing to do. That's a brilliant thing to do.
One of my animations that I made for myself took nearly 2 years. You know, it took over a year and a half. So I knew that, like, okay, if I want to do this, I need to give myself like a kind of a strict deadline that I have to meet. And yeah, that really helped me. And of course, once you start making comics, that's your life, is deadlines. You just got to keep making, you know.
Yeah. Man, cool.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. Thanks so much. I already took too much of your time here. So, thanks so much
No, it's my pleasure.
for taking the time this
Oh,
morning.
good. No, yeah, like I said, you know, thanks again for the interest, and yeah, give me a shout when you're in Tokyo ever.
Oh, definitely. Well, I could be in Tokyo anytime, man.